Hello, USC football fans. Connor Morrissette and Shotgun Spratling of USCFootball.com. We're here on campus after the first day of fall training camp at USC. It's time for instant analysis, Shotgun. The floor is yours. We'll start with you. What was your biggest takeaway from today's practice?
Well, can I start with that Braylon Shelby is a monster? I mean, just that's the first observation that stuck out to me. Just seeing some of these new kids coming in, some of the freshmen that we hadn't seen during the spring. The offensive linemen that came in, Alani Noya, some of those guys, really big dudes. So they went out and got size, definitely, with this recruiting class. And then seeing, we did get to see some of the guys like Barry Alexander at the media day yesterday. So it was kind of the freshmen that we hadn't seen. But then you see, all right, that rush in position, and you got Romello Height with Anthony Lucas, which is a notable thing that he was with the rush ins, and Braylon Shelby. And you're just like, this is an all-body position right now. And the guy that's in front of all of those guys right now is Jamil Muhammad, who's at 250 and is a dude that gets to the pass rusher. So you just notice the depth that this team potentially has this year, and if they can find a way to use it in the correct way, the defense in particular should be a lot better than it was last year.
You mentioned the size there of Braylon Shelby. Romello Height looked huge to me as well. He's another part of that group. And yeah, really interesting enough, Anthony Lucas was with the rush ends today. And I think that has to do with USC trying to put the best 11 players on the field. And if it's Anthony Lucas at rush end and maybe someone else at defensive end, Solomon Tuliapupu was there today. Could see him in the future. Barry Alexander didn't participate a ton, so him coming in would change things. But I think the biggest takeaway I've had early in camp so far, they want to get the best 11 players on the field. They have a lot of versatility, and they're not afraid to move guys around to get to that point.
Yeah, you definitely seen that, guys are going to be training at different spots. So Anthony Lucas is going to play defensive line. He's going to play rush in. You look at the offensive line. Make the switch. Jonah Monheim is going to go to left tackle from right tackle, and Michael Tarquin's going to go over the right side. But the question was asked to Lincoln Riley about it, and he said, well, it's kind of a fall camp thing. We're going to see how it goes and then kind of assess how things go, because in the spring it was the other way. Now they're going to give this one a chance and see if that sticks. If not, we may see something halfway through the camp, and they're just like, this isn't working. And I think you're going to see that with some of those defensive linemen, those rush-ins. It's like, all right, which position best fits? Now that we've gotten the entire team, the entire roster together, all right, who plays well beside Barry Alexander? Who plays well with Jack Sullivan? Where do those guys fit well? I think that's going to be kind of the key. They're going to try guys out at different spots. And we talked to Barry Alexander yesterday at media day, and he mentioned, hey, I'm going to play 3 different spots on the defensive line. So I think guys are going to be cross-training, but they're going to be trying out different positions to see who works well with each other and who kind of fits best to be able to get those 11 best players on the field. And they've got some options this year. Last year it felt like you had 9 players for your best 11. Now it feels like you're getting up to 15, 16, 17. There's going to be some really good competitions going into this fall camp.
Before we move over to special teams or offense, anything else defensively stand out to you from today?
Yeah, we talked to Lincoln Riley after practice, and he was asked about Alex Grinch, and, did he have some revelation this offseason? He said, no, he's attacking everything the same way. They did go back. He confirmed they went back and watched their practice habits last year, and he said they did notice some things that were different. The beginning of the season when they're creating a lot of turnovers. In the second half of the season, their practice habits, there just wasn't as much energy, was one of the things that kind of stood out there. So, and I think that comes with not having the depth and the fact they got beat up at some positions. Now you don't have your middle linebackers basically practicing because those guys are banged up. So I think the fact that they have the depth is just going to ease a lot of things for them this year. And Lincoln Riley said Alex Grinch is probably the most motivated guy in their building right now. So he's attacking the offseason the same way he did in the past. But he's looking to see what they can do better and trying to attack all those areas.
Yeah, and it's clear, especially defensively, how last year ended. That's still on everyone's mind. And you mentioned the depth. We've talked a lot about consistency as well. That was a big thing with the media day yesterday. How many coaches and players said we need to be more consistent. So finishing the season is on these guys' minds, and we're in July, so I think that's a good sign. After last year, how it ended, they didn't finish the way they wanted to. It's so early in the season, but finishing this upcoming season is going to be so important because this group has a chance to be really special. On the offensive side, Caleb Williams, we didn't see him throw too much, but I witnessed him throw a just dime to walk-on running back Matt Colombo in the back corner of the end zone, so he looks good as ever. Offensive takeaways for you, Shotgun.
Yeah, we only saw a couple minutes. It was basically the warm-up session where the players doing one-on-one or one again, routes against air. Excuse me, I'm trying to get it out. It's early in the morning. That should have been the number one takeaway. Yeah. It's super early morning practice. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, notice some dimes from Caleb Williams, from Miller Moss, Malachi Nelson, and the one guy who stood out catching those balls was Lake McCree. Had a couple of really nice catches, a one-handed snag in the back of the end zone where he gets the toe tap in too, and then a couple other nice kind of jumping, leaping catches. That kind of caught my eye, especially with that tight end position where it seems like, all right, can they make a mark this season? And you thought, hey, they're bringing in a bunch of guys. You're bringing in Deuce Robinson, but Deuce Robinson's playing on the outside. Seeing him for the first time was good to see him out there. He's back in his home, kind of. He was in right field because they started practice at Dedeaux Field. So kind of, at home there. It's a place that hopefully we'll see him in about 8-10 months, playing a little bit of baseball too. But yeah, he looked good out there. And Jacoby Lane was a guy that looked a little bit thicker than I expected, and still a baby face though. But just definitely a baby face. Is going to be able to add so much weight to his frame. But he's long, lean, and he went up and made a couple of nice catches, high pointing the ball as well. So the freshmen, definitely were able to catch my eye this first practice.
Another young freshman who I had the chance to watch, Makai Lemon, was fielding kickoffs for the early portion of practice. He wasn't totally healthy during the spring, so that was something that stood out to me. I don't know where on the depth chart he'll be returning kickoffs, but it looks like the staff at least wants to try him out at that spot. And it's good to see these guys healthy. A few players who didn't play a ton in the spring are back. Makai's one of those guys. I think overall, Bear Alexander has a small injury issue right now, but Lincoln Riley said that he should be back really soon. Overall, though, health of the team's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's a great place to start the fall camp. We mentioned it during the live show last night that, everyone we talked to, Damani Jackson, Christian Roland Wallace, all these guys fully healthy. Guys that there have been injury concerns about in the past or in the spring didn't do much. Romello Height, fully healthy. So it was great to see the depth that they have there, the bodies in each position group. You didn't look around and go, wow, there's only a couple guys in that position group. It's going to be hard for them to go through drills and do everything, or it's going to be all walk-ons. No, they've got everyone out there right now, and hopefully it stays that way. You always hope that everyone stays healthy throughout fall camp, but inevitably there'll be some nicks and bruises, and how do they battle through that with some unique challenges for this fall camp because of the week 0 game. They're starting a week early with their fall camp, which is why they're starting so early with some of these practices. Today was a 6:30 a.m. Start time. There's a couple of 6 a.m.s. There's some 8 a.m.s. I asked Lincoln Riley about it, and he said, well, it's because we're in class right now. They still are in summer school classes, whereas normally you kind of get to fall camp. You may have a couple of days where you have some class issues that you have to work around a little bit, but the bulk of your fall camp is while there's no one else really on campus and there's no classes going on. But that's not the case. We've got a ton of students walking around us today because summer school sessions are still in going, and asked Lincoln Riley about the challenges of that, and he said it's more for the players because normally when they get to the portion of fall camp where it's just, hey, focus on football, you go to this early practice, you go to practice, then you go back, you get a nap in. You get to rest, recover a little bit, and then come back for your meetings. You get your time in the training room, whatever it takes. They've got to go to class from this practice, and then you got to stay awake for that after that 4 a.m. or whatever it was, wake-up call to get out here for practice. But he said, hey, they're used to it from their summer conditioning program and everything, those workouts they do. So it's just a little bit unique challenge this season with the week 0 game.
We can finish up talking about Lincoln Riley's press availability. You mentioned a little bit of it earlier there. I thought it was interesting. He fielded a question about Jonah Monheim moving over to left tackle, and I'll just say what I thought he said, not verbatim. He's the best offensive lineman we have. He's going to be at the left tackle spot. That seemed to be my takeaway. Most consistent. We want to put our best guy in the biggest position of need. That's sort of what I took away from Coach Riley addressing why after in the spring Monheim was at right tackle. He's now at left tackle. Michael Tarquin is now at right tackle after being at left tackle. That was my big takeaway from Coach Riley's availability after practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's something they're going to try out and see, and if it, they probably is going to stick. I would think that would stick. That made the most sense, coming off of the spring where Michael Tarquin was fine but not outstanding. So give Jonah Monheim, who's a guy that has played tackle and has got beat early in his career, learned from those mistakes, and became a dude at right tackle the last couple of seasons. So now he's going to get his opportunity to go to left tackle, and we'll see how he does over there. One other observation on the offensive line. We noted it yesterday, but Emmanuel Pregnant is a huge dude. He's a monster. He came out today trying to put a shirt on, eating food. It seems like he's a guy who's constantly eating, so he's getting that weight up and keeping it up. Like I said, those freshmen are big dudes too. And talking to Justin Dedeaux yesterday, he said, yeah, they're big, and you think, yeah, they're going to be slow-footed. No, they move really well too. Didn't get a chance to catch them too much, though. Ryan actually got some offensive line drills, so I'll be watching that video later. You guys can check that out as well. To be up on our YouTube as well as on the site. But first day, as Lincoln Riley said, first day, everyone around the nation is going to say they're really excited. They had a great day. You can only do so much during the first days of practice because of the NCAA regulations. And Ryan actually asked him, is it different now from 6 or 7 years ago, the first couple of days? He said, no, it's basically the same. Your goals are basically the same the first couple of days of fall camp just because of those NCAA regulations. But I did think it was interesting that Lincoln Riley noted that their goals are different from last year as far as the overall fall camp. He said, yeah, we're at a different starting point than we were last year. It's not creating the culture and doing all those things. So their goals have actually changed for this fall camp, which is what you would expect, but not necessarily something that a coach would necessarily say. So Lincoln Riley giving some honest answers there about what they got to do and some of the things that they're going to be doing a little bit differently during this fall camp. So we'll see how that kind of plays out as this fall camp proceeds.
Yeah, I also mentioned business as usual, all business for USC after day one of fall camp. For Shotgun Spratling, I'm Connor Morrissette at USCFootball.com. This was Instant Analysis.